Good morning, boys and girls. I hope everybody's doing well. Today in math, we're going to do some traditional multiplication of decimals. And I think you'll see that you kind of already know what you're doing, but we are going to do a practice day of multiplying decimals. So if you would please write down the WALT, 4.4 WALT, multiply a decimal by a whole number, and then join me in the lesson. You've already done your solve and share. It says a car travels 1.15 kilometers in 1 minute. If it travels at a constant speed, how far will it travel in 3 minutes, in 5 minutes? Solve this problem any way you choose. I don't know how you solved it, but for me, I would just do 1.15 times 3 and 1.15 times 5 to show the distance traveled in this amount of minutes. So if I multiply this, I'm actually just multiplying this as if there's no decimal. In fact, I don't even think about the decimal while I'm multiplying. And then in the end, like we did in class, I'm going to count the decimal places. There are 2, and that means there need to be 2 decimal places in my answer. So the first answer would be 3.45 kilometers. Okay? The second one is in 5 minutes. So we would do 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 7. 5 times 1 is 5. Again, 1, 2 decimal places in the problem. 1, 2 decimal places in the answer. 5.75 kilometers. Okay, let's do some practice problems together. Let's take a look at, I'm going to go right to the problems. We have 9.8 times 2. I'm going to do these on lined paper, and I'm going to transfer my answer back into my book. So the first one is 9.8 times 2. Here's my decimal. I'm going to multiply this as if I'm multiplying a number with no decimal. And I get 196, but I've got to place my decimal. And I can see here that there's 1 decimal place in the problem. So there's only 1 decimal place in the answer. And that answer is 19.6. That's number 3 in the guided practice. Number 4, 0 and 67 hundredths times 8. Now notice 0 and 67 hundredths is a lower number. It's a lesser number than 8, but it has more digits, so it has to go on top. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 5 is 53. 8 times 0 is 0, plus 5 is 5. Sometimes that 0 will throw kids off. You don't need it there, but if it is there, you just treat it as if it were in the middle of the problem. You multiply the number, get 0, and add your carried number if there is one. 536 is our answer, but there are 2 decimal places in the problem, and so therefore 2 decimal places in the answer. So far we have 19.6 and 5.36 as our answers. Number 5, 34 times 5.3. And we're going to multiply this as if there's no decimal. Cross off our carried numbers, bring down our 0. And then we're going to add everything up. 1 decimal place in the problem, 1 decimal place in the answer, 180.2. And number 6, oops. Again, we're going to multiply this as if there's no decimal. There's nothing to cross off carried number-wise, but we're going to drop our 0. One decimal place in the problem, 1 decimal place in the answer. I'm just going to do number 7 with you because of the way it's set up, the way the book has it set up, and I'll show it to you, is they have it as 0.6 times 15, but I'm going to put the 15 on top. I'm just more comfortable with that. It's the same number of digits because of the 0, but I think this makes more sense to me. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. There's really no reason to even do that second zero, except if I needed decimal places, which I'm not going to. So I'm going to leave it as is. There's one decimal place in the problem, and so there's one decimal place in the answer, and that could be 9.0 or just plain old 9. And the last one on this page we're going to do together is number 8, 55 times 1.1. 1 times 5, whoops, I just want to make sure you can see this. Let me move this up a bit. And 1 times 5, drop my 0, 1 times 5, 1 times 5. It's 605. There's one decimal place in the problem, one decimal place in the answer, 60.5. So I'm just going to enter these like you would if you were in school. Okay, so for today's lesson, you are practicing traditional multiplication of decimals. I wish you great luck and have a great day.